Hello. I've made this video because I couldn't be with you in your discussions with the Multi-Tourism Society. I've made this little video to support the discussions on sustainability. My name's Higgins-Desbiolles and I'm in Adelaide, Australia. So the time differences didn't work very well for me to be with you live. So I hope you'll accept this presentation in the goodwill that it's made. I'm concerned about sustainability, and my recent work in tourism studies has been looking at redefining tourism and resetting it. So I thought I'd spend a few minutes to share with you my ideas. I'm concerned that responsible tourism and sustainable tourism are not sufficient for the future we need, and particularly post-pandemic crisis that we're experiencing, which is only going to make our tensions and our difficulties worse. The problem with responsible tourism and sustainable tourism is that they occur in a system of grave injustices. And there's several of us working on this. I particularly like the work of Dr. Raul Bianchi, who has also been thinking about political economy of tourism and the injustices that occur with tourism. So the difficulties with responsible and sustainable tourism is they don't get to the grave structural injustices that underpin the current system of tourism. We can think about the cruise industry, and particularly how some 80% of the cruise industry is owned by multinationals who use flags of convenience as a way to avoid paying sufficient taxes on their profits, and also avoid environmental and labor regulatory regimes, which underpins the profit-making model. So that's the problem that I'm talking about. That's an example of that. So what is this concept that I've come up with together with some colleagues about the idea of redefining tourism? What I've noted in my teaching of tourism is that the tourism industry is defined by the businesses that supply products and services to tourists. And so it's focused upon those two things, the tourism businesses and the tourists who consume those products and services. And what is left out of that are the host communities. And I think that is the key problem of a lot of what's wrong with tourism today, including things like over-tourism in beautiful places like Venice and Barcelona, but other places all around the world. And so if we redefine tourism focused on the local communities, the host communities, and their rights and their benefits, we could reorient the entire phenomenon and overturn these injustices that sit there. You can look at my work on that, so I can provide you links on that if you're interested. And then taking that idea a step further after COVID-19, I wrote something about socializing tourism. And what I mean by that is socializing tourism to be compatible with the society in which it occurs. So it is rejigging the emphasis away from sustaining tourism to sustaining societies, and then having tourism that fits in its proper place. So that societies are sustained for their well-being and for their own purposes. And so this idea of socializing tourism would emphasize tourism for the public good. And we turn away from public monies supporting and subsidizing the marketized, corporatized forms of tourism. And what we do is we'd have our governments help and support those forms of tourism that are actually compatible with the well-being and the public good of society. And there'd be a whole change in the framework of tourism if we approached it that way. So for instance, I think places should start to think about supporting local small to medium enterprises versus supporting and subsidizing multinational corporations that are based somewhere else. We could prioritize that, and it's a matter of policy to be able to do that. I think that our state and government tourism commissions should be moved away from what they do today, which is just marketing tourism, and they should actually be holistic groups that use tourism for the public good rather than being mere marketers. And what would that tourism for the public good look like? Well, it would mean that we'd be focusing on things that support, for instance, our schools and educational tourism, community exchanges. We could be doing citizen science and meaningful ecotourism to value ecology so that we live more sustainably. Because of course, the major crisis we face, and we can't forget while we're in the COVID-19 crisis, is climate change. And that's the thing that the global community is having a problem dealing with. And if we don't do this, we're in an existential crisis as a people. Forget tourism. It's an existential crisis as a people. So what are we going to do to actually reorient the phenomenon of tourism so that it can be justified, that our resources are justified, and that it becomes a phenomenon that enhances the living of places, enhances the living of people in those places, and that helps us appreciate the beautiful environments and cultures, economies, societies that we have. Rather than becoming a thing of taking and degrading, it becomes a thing of giving and regenerating. So that's my proposal today, some ideas about that. I hope it might be helpful. Certainly I have writing that I could supply to you that would help share these ideas in a better way, more full way, so I can make those things available. I appreciate you letting me to contribute, and I look forward to seeing the outcomes from your meetings. Thank you.